So the introduction bit is always the hardest bit.
Yeah.
And when you sent that question over...
How do you describe yourself, that question, yeah?
Well, my Twitter bio says...
So Iain Nairn MBE.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on board. Start off at 10. Tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Iain Nairn?
Today, I'm Iain Nairn, an insolvency practitioner based in the northeast of England, running around hopefully helping businesses who are struggling financially normally, talking to directors of those businesses, mainly SMEs, and trying to help them to get through whatever it is that they're going through.
A little bit further in the past, you were quite famous for a certain few cricketing abilities. If you can briefly touch on them.
I'm probably the only man in the world who says I'm lucky to have had my leg chopped off. I was born with a disability and foot was deformed. So mum and dad made the decision when I was 16 months old to amputate. That made me not a much better cricketer overall in life, but it made me one of the better one-legged cricketers of the world, which opened up more opportunity than I ever would have had being a two-legged cricketer. So whilst you've played for county juniors, coming up, you're within mainstream cricket, got to 30 and thought everything had gone. There was never going to be that dream of playing for England. And all of a sudden, we'd had the 2012 Olympics. The England disability team had a game against Pakistan over in Dubai in a series over there earlier in 2012, and the world just kicked off, especially after the Paralympics, and the opportunity just sort of kept coming and coming for disability sport. So one of our local cricket coaches who will have coached you as a kid, Ron Young, whose son was played for England deaf team, got in touch with me and said, look, there's a disability team playing. I've put you forward. Will you turn up and have some nets? And it was one of those strange bits of conversation because I was 32 at the time, and I'd been 30 years without a leg, and in those 30 years I'd never done a single disability sport and never really had a desire to go and do disability sport. But when they said England cricket, it was like, well, yeah, okay, I'll pop along and see how it is. The thought of getting the three lions on, the shirts, the caps, and whatnot. It was just too much to turn down. We met up in the pub at Malvern School, and just started chatting, and it was just amazing to actually come across some guys who had all of the same traits. Really, they'd had a challenge in life. The disability that they were either born with or grew into. The majority of us had a sense of humour that we'd all use to diffuse whatever it was that was coming our way. So there was that humour there immediately to sort of lighten the way and make sure that you're enjoying yourself. But then an amazing drive you could see as well, that all of a sudden this opportunity had come. Within probably half an hour, you're like, I've arrived somewhere that's really good here. You need to work out how to get fit and how to make the most of that.
So obviously you turned up for the trials. Was there a case of when did you know you got in and and the captaincy? Did the captaincy come straight away, or was it shortly after?
So I was the second oldest in the team, which led me to the captaincy when the oldest in the team retired.
That's how I've got every captaincy I've had as well. Yeah,
and I think it is important to understand that I was probably the more sensible of the lot as well. So older and more sensible led you to captaincy, and actually I think a bit of my work experience, being able to sit and talk to people, it led you to do a bit of the sales and marketing side of England stuff as well. Led to the captaincy, but that was sort of 3 years, 2.5-3 years later. But finding out that first game came within a couple of weeks. Really, it was sort of like turn up to some nets. Right, we've got a game in a fortnight. That turning up to your first game and being sort of handed the England shirt, you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. But that was 2012 and you had handed back.
How have things changed? Obviously, you started in 2012, obviously through to 15 for the World Cup. You retired at 19, and now, can you see marked changes in kind of the professionalism of the game and how things change? It's a great example. Nowadays, if you're a full England cap, I don't suppose you give your shirt back at the end for someone else to use.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought even then, if you'd asked any of the men's teams coming through to do that, it wouldn't have happened. Your under 19s, under 17s, they would have had their kit, and certainly the guys who we played with, Ian Hunter used to go off and do England stuff and would come back and he'd have some T-shirts to share around the dressing room and things like that. You were definitely not handing any of his stuff back. After I'd retired, I got invited by Google to go and do a sort of presentation, not dissimilar to this kind of chat around leadership. And there was, there were Formula One team managers there, Olympic winning hockey players and things. And me and they were coming out with all of this stuff about like teams and how they're elite teams of professional athletes, and like if you think Formula One, like massively detailed based, teams who were at the peak of motor sport and motor industry even. And I was like, well, my team was a little bit different to that, because to be fair, most of us were more interested in getting 4 pints in after the match than we were about like sitting down and having a full review. That was the standard that we were coming in at. Yeah. So to be actually having to go and do a cool down after the match with your fitness trainer to say, like, let's all do some stretching. Like, stretching? I've got a beer in the shower. Like that's all that I need. And trying to build that up was probably one of the bigger challenges, to create that level of professionalism. Yeah. Captaining England was a huge responsibility, like a huge opportunity, huge responsibility. Playing for England was a huge opportunity and a huge responsibility. Not many people got to do that. I think they're up to about cap number 25 at the minute in the sort of physical disability side of things. So 25 people have put on an England shirt with a physical disability. That should weigh heavy. You should do things properly. You should work hard whilst you're away from it. Work hard while you're at it, and that was really like important to me.
Winning the World Cup, such a high profile. It's probably the first time. I think obviously I knew you and I'm aware of what you were doing, so I kind of knew you were involved. The build up, but that was such a high profile thing, hugely celebrated. Without that win, do you think, or did that accelerate the professionalism of the team and the sport in England?
It couldn't have happened in a better place than Bangladesh, because they're mad for cricket. They just absolutely love it. The first game we were supposed to play against Bangladesh in the Sher-e-Bangla Stadium, massive like gladiatorial venue, like it's just absolutely nuts. But the organisers, because we are low value sportsmen, did it at the back end of typhoon season.
Okay.
So we rocked up the first day. They'd closed down half of Dhaka so that Sheikh Hasina that can turn up. Whether she was actually going to watch the game or not, I don't know. But she'd come along. She'd had pictures taken with the trophy and with us as captains. Made a speech and then left. And honestly, there was not a cat in hell's chance we were getting onto that pitch. It was just absolutely soaked. But they'd given tickets away to like some kids. The noise that they were making, because there was an England team in that stand, was just unbelievable. When we actually did get to go and play, so we missed out on the game in the big stadium. It was live on TV, so it was on the BBC One equivalent. There were from toss until the end of the game. So you were doing interviews at the toss about why you wanted to bat, etc., etc. And then when you'd sort of get onto Facebook and Twitter at the end of the day, and you look, there's an article come up about it, and it says like 5.2. I don't know what that 5.2 is. And so that was 5.2 million people had read the article about it. And so if you'd put an article out and you'd quite often see from the ECB the tweets that they'd put out about it, and people following the ECB, you might get 1,000 likes on an ECB tweet about it. An article online over there was getting 5 million views, and all of a sudden, like that just starts to rub off. It starts to make the right noises. The tournament was sponsored by the Red Cross, so it was really good for their profile. But you're talking to the world. All of a sudden, they can tell the world about the benefit of disability sport and what it's doing. And I think we as the wealthy nation of the five, we were all running around on carbon fibre legs. If you were the amputees, we all pretty much all had a sponsorship deal. We all had our own kit there. A lot of the players that we're playing against didn't have that, and certainly didn't have the opportunity in life that we had, which made them absolute street fighters. Like when you got up against it with them, you knew they weren't going to give in on anything. Whereas quite often for us, it was like, oh, is there not someone I can ask for a bit more money to like fix that?
Yeah.
And there must be a way that someone would come in and help us. Whereas they're just like, you've got to crack on with it and deal with it yourself.
And I suppose obviously the pressure ramped up a little bit during the tournament. How did you react, and how did the players react to kind of this sudden additional exposure?
I was really proud of how we reacted because, I mentioned earlier, I was the oldest, and for a lot of us, no one had even been out of Europe. We were in this sort of hostel. It wasn't a luxurious hotel that we were staying in, but it really brought us together. We lost the first game to Bangladesh. It was our first sort of hit on a South Asian wicket. We were never going to win, really. And they were right up for it because it was their first game on home territory with some people around the place shouting. And we've got some videos when you sort of stop and listen back to it. They were noisy. There was more noise than we've ever experienced before. And it's funny how it gets into your head. We had some stuff back from the coaches about how we might want to try and play a bit differently, what shots would work for us, where we need to bowl to do it. But once we'd had that chat, there was a sort of steeliness in us that said, right, we walk away from here. That has happened. We can't do anything about that now. All we can do is make sure that we have a positive effect on everything going forward. We then had to play Pakistan, who'd sort of always beaten us in big games, and we managed to beat them in their sort of in the group stages, as it were, which was then probably that moment where you're like, right, hang on, we've just beaten them and we did it quite comfortably. We then had to play Afghanistan, who were pretty much unknown. For me and you, it was like taking on someone from the Coast League.
Yeah.
They lost that. I think they needed 16 to win off the last over, and they got 14.
Wow.
And needed 2 off the last ball. Unfortunately, for some reason, the batsman decided he wanted to change his gloves, which was just perfect. So we were like, yeah, change. Went and had a chat with the bowler, the lad who's now captain, Callum Flynn. And Callum was like, Nanny, I can't believe I'm going to lose this for us. And I was like, whoa, just stop right there. You're not going to lose this. Even if we lose, you haven't lost this. I actually think you're gonna win it. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. We'd been working on bowling slower balls into the pitch, and honestly, when I watched the videos back, I'm pretty certain it bounced twice before it hit the stumps. It was that much into the pitch, but they were just trying to hit it out of the ground rather than just taking a 2.
But I suppose them little moments kind of give you the clarity of thought and that ability to take a standstill and go, right, let's take a breath here.
Yeah.
Put everything into perspective a little bit and go, let's just relax over this.
It was one thing that I was always really keen on in what I was doing. So I love hearing from people. I like to hear other people's opinions when I'm on the pitch, but it's got to be at the right time. So and there's times where you need to be able to sort of almost step aside as captain on the pitch when things are going. And we only played T20. It was always there was always something happening on the pitch. You always had to respond to it. We had days where we went for 200 when we'd sort of come up against a county under-17s team with some stars in it. You're trying to keep everyone calm as to what they're doing and follow your process as to where are we going to get the wicket from? How do we break this down? How do we stop the scoring? Whatever it is that you're going to. And I made it clear there were 3 or 4 people who I'd hear from any time of day. You can come and talk to me on the pitch at any time, and I'll happily hear. Everyone else, it's at drinks times that I want to hear from you. I don't want anything out of the blue. I might come and talk to you if there's something that I think you might be able to add, or if I need to get a bowler lined up to come in and do something. I think it's where the profession, where you sort of shipped in with not an awful lot of time to help someone. You've got to make some quick decisions, responding to bits of new information that come in, and then back yourself. I think is the key bit that is this the right decision to have made? Yep, whether it is or isn't, we're going with it and we're going to stick with it for 2 overs. If we need to change tack in 2 overs time, we can do that then.
And in terms, obviously, you mentioned that link back to the day job in terms of absolutely you're going into high pressurized situations, things will change regularly, and that ability to say, no, we're going to go down this route. Do you think your experiences, kind of your pre-work experiences, helped you in those situations, or do you think you're better for being in that situation back into the work environment?
I think they're both huge positives. So, I did a lot of sales stuff when I was at uni and growing up, and having that ability to sort of, I suppose, spot the chance to communicate in a way that gets a buy-in.
Yeah.
It was something that I learned sort of pretty quickly working in call centres and working in retail. And then as you start to deal with your more professional things, you're always selling. You're always listening for opportunities to, right, what can I put across. But cricket definitely taught me things the other way, and I do think it's communication as a leader in whatever it is that you're doing, leading a client, leading a team, you're coaching within business as well. It's really important that you've got that ability to listen to where they're at, then explain where you can take them, and then hopefully take them down that sales pitch and route to recovery or route to winning after that.
We've talked about challenges quite a bit, and obviously the challenge of retiring. Looking back, what do you think is your single biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
There's probably the cheesy answer of, actually living with a disability isn't always easy. I wouldn't have said it's a daily challenge, or it might not even be a weekly or a monthly challenge, but there are challenges to that, and I think it's sort of something that especially in the world that we find ourselves at the minute, where we're looking to save a bob or two financially as a country, quite often there's an element of, do we really need to look after people with weaknesses as much as we do? And I think we definitely need to. We might not need to financially look after them, but we definitely need to provide opportunity there for people with disabilities across all spectrum. I think the other bit, and it kind of going back to the cricket, but also an element professionally, is that sort of imposter syndrome. I always feel like there will be someone better than me that's just around the corner. And perhaps the one thing that being part of the England side gave me in that process was actually to back yourself. One of the other things about having a disability that has sort of come out in my personality is that you can achieve anything, actually. Do you know, to bring it back to the cricket pitch, when I was a 10-year-old at school, cricket coach said, I was rubbish off my legs. He didn't do me any favours, like ever. I could never play off my legs. But he said, you'll not be able to get your foot like that, will you? I was like, whoa. Show me what I need to do and let me try and work it out.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. And I think that sort of immediately triggered in my head, if someone tells me I can't do something or that won't work, well, I'm going to work out a way for it to work.
Quickly to pivot to something you talked on there, imposter syndrome. I think it's hugely prevalent in business and business people. And my view is, I think people in the northeast of England have that greater than others. Obviously, being involved in the kind of national team, do you agree with that, or is that just something across the board?
I think there's definitely, and certainly we found in the team, there was a different level of confidence the further down country you went.
Okay.
It's definitely not a competence thing with the northeast. In the north, there are plenty of people with competence, but I do think it's a confidence thing. It feels like the south is possibly a bit more Americanized almost, and you've got that maybe even false bravado. Whereas in the northeast, look, we're always putting each other down. It's the nature of of our psyche, really, and I think, but we always respond to that in the right way. We know in the northeast there are some great businesses, there are some unbelievable business leaders around. They don't always reach the same heights of exposure as people further around the country. But ultimately, they're building some. There are some great things being built in the northeast. From micro businesses all the way up to our largest businesses, with good local leaders as well. And I think it's definitely there's definitely opportunity there up here and in the region.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, pulling together a team and a high performing team, you achieved the ultimate. Really, your team won the World Cup. What was the challenges, and how did you was the biggest challenge the diverse range of people and bringing them together, or what do you think the biggest challenge to bringing that team together was?
Most elite teams spend so much time together. Everything, all of the behaviours just become common. So if you're a new member to that team, you pick it up within about half an hour because you see how everyone behaves. Whereas for us, we'd see each other for 2 days once a month. There wasn't an awful lot of opportunity to sort of sit and talk about your cultures and behaviours and norms that you expected and how hard you were working away from home. But because you only had a few opportunities to get together, we went and climbed Penny Fan. They got one of an army sergeant in to sort of take us up a hill and put us in a tent overnight, which was really good sort of team building opportunity to walk up a hill for 4 hours and talk to each other about stuff whilst doing a task. Really worked. All of that led you to that common goal, the support of each other, knowing what your mate needed you to do for them and knowing that he was thinking about what he needed to do for you.
Yeah.
And then having that freedom to go and just give it a try.
Excellent.
I like that summing up. That's perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Iain, thank you very much for your time. I don't know how long we've spoke there, but I feel it's like a reasonable amount.
Yeah, it's about time, isn't it?
About time. I think we're done. That it?
Everyone behind the camera's asleep.
I know.